Well, David and Kylie Knight, I am so excited to have you guys on the Collide Kids podcast.
Thank you. We're excited to be
Oh,
here.
thanks for having us. We're excited.
Yes, we've met a few times at some different conferences, and I just love what you guys do. Would you just share a little bit to our listeners about who you are and what you do?
Sure. Well, we are David and Kylie Knight. We're a husband and wife Christian illusionist team. We travel all over the country, all over the world, really, performing for mostly churches and ministry organizations. And we've been married for 25 years.
Now, is it that you're both illusionists, or is it one is the assistant and one is the illusionist?
We really work as a team. I mean, I do play a little bit more of the traditional assistant role. I am bringing things off stage, on and off stage.
Hmm.
I do sometimes get into a box, like getting cut in half or switched down to nothing.
Wow.
But we really do work as a team.
Well, I'm excited to talk to you guys about this because I think this is so fun. But before we do that, because this is a show for kids, I always ask my guests to tell me a joke. So, what have you got for us today?
I was really thinking about this, and I tried really hard, and I could only come up with a joke about paper, but it's terrible.
Ah, it's terrible. I get it.
It's
Yeah, that's good.
terrible.
I like that.
Yeah. So I'll try giving you a real joke. What did the bison say to his son when he left the ranch? Bye, son.
Oh, bye, son. That's good. So, I'd love to hear a little bit about what gives you joy about being illusionist. Tell me about that a little bit.
Other than everything. Well, I love that we get to do what God has called us to do. He put this on our hearts back in '07,
Oh, seven. Yep.
maybe a little
As a
bit
ministry.
before that, when we started going and doing this together. I love that we get to travel together. I love that we get to work together as a team, as a husband and wife. I love sharing God's message everywhere we go. I love meeting new people, going different places and meeting different people at church. And I just pinch myself thinking, I get to do this? Wow, it's amazing.
That's awesome.
And I echo all of that. And then on top of that, I mean, for me, this has been the dream since I was 12 years old, was to be a magician and illusionist and travel and perform. And so the fact that, like she said, God allowed us to have this and allows us to do this, and to see people's reaction to the show. I mean,
Mhm.
most of our audiences are very diverse, and so we get a lot of people who come. We get sometimes it's just people who have had a really bad day. Like I'll never forget, there was a lady one time who came to our show, and afterwards, her husband had passed away recently,
Mm.
and she said I haven't smiled or laughed since he passed, and this is the first time that I've been able to do that. So thank you for that. So the fact that we got to give her that,
That moment of joy,
yeah.
Yeah.
laughter.
That there's a young man in Tennessee who had just kind of honestly, he'd been told he was worthless, and
Mm.
and he heard our message about being created in God's image, and he came up to us and he said, "I didn't realize that I had value until you told me that." And so the fact that we get to do that, and then we just get to, so you get all these great stories that are heartwarming and sweet and
People's
wonderful.
responses to our message.
Yeah, and then you
Yeah.
get the opportunity to blow people's minds and make them laugh. So
Yeah.
what's not to love about it?
That sounds great. I want to do it. Can I try?
Come on, come on.
Absolutely.
Let's go. Well, okay. So you mentioned this was something that you've always wanted to do since you were 12. So can you give us the story of like how you got started and how you realized that you were called to something like this?
Growing up, for me, it was always something performance. It started off as an actor, and then I wanted to be a musician. And then I was 12 years old, and I was in school, and I had to do a book report on a biography. And I found this book on Harry Houdini, who was an escape artist and magician. And I read his story and his life, and I said, "That's what I want to do with my life." And so I gave up. Like I went to my music teachers the next day. I said, "I'm done with music. I'm going to do magic from now on." They're like, "What?"
Wait,
I
what?
know. so, so I started pursuing it, and got the chance to work with a lot of really great people. And then when I was 19, I went to a magic show by a guy named Andre Cole, who was an illusionist, but he was also a creator of magic. And so he would invent things for the big names in magic, David Copperfield, Siegfried and Roy at the time. He would create things for them or help them make things better. But he was also a committed Christian and an evangelist. And so he would share
Wow.
the gospel in his show. Yeah. And so that's actually how I came to know Christ. And then, yeah, when Kylie and I got together, just God kind of made everything clear as to this is the path you're supposed to go down.
But you also seen his show 3 times.
Yeah, I'd seen his show 3 times, and each time I did the pray to receive Christ, sent him my little card, and nothing had really changed in my life, mainly because I didn't have discipleship.
Mm.
I wasn't connected to a church. I didn't have Christians around me, and so it wasn't until the third time, and I actually got to travel with him on the road that I got to be discipled by him and the rest of the team, and got to understand what it actually meant to walk with
Mm,
Christ. That anything changed.
that's how you started growing in your faith.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that you said that because I think that's a big thing a lot of people miss out on. They might make a decision to follow Jesus. They might, walk the aisle or they get baptized or something happens, but then there's no real life change because they need a church body. They need
Mm.
discipleship. They need someone that says, "Come along with me as we're going through this faith journey." And so I love that you got that while you're learning magic as well, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, it's so
Yeah.
important.
So, Kylie, what about you? Was this something that you wanted to do when you were younger, or was it something that you found when you met David?
No, it wasn't even on my radar growing up. In fact, I was a dental assistant for a few years in Australia. That's where I was born and raised. And then came to America just to travel for a little bit, and we met and married. And so I sort of came along for the journey. I loved the stage growing up, though. I was part of, school or church drama teams. So I did love
Hmm.
it. So it fit in really well with what I enjoyed doing. But magic, no, I never even thought about it.
Well, that's good that you found it and found your new love, and then you
Absolutely.
discovered what God was calling you to do. And so I think that's so neat. What do you think that means? I feel like we've said that a few times. Can you define that a little bit? Like, what does that mean to be called by God? Like, how does that work?
Oh, that's a great question. I do. There's a few times where I've heard God speaking to me directly. I mean, He
Hmm.
uses many ways to speak to us. I mean, creation, God's word obviously is the most tangible way. You can pick up the Bible and read His word anytime, any day. But He uses people, He uses the environment. There's so many different ways. But I remember a couple of times audibly hearing His voice. And one of those was coming to America, and I wanted to leave because I was really homesick. And God said, "I'm not finished with you here yet."
Mm.
And so that was one time. Another time was telling us to take what we'd learned from different shows that we'd been part of and take it to the church.
Mm.
When He called us to this bus life, definitely, we both heard that one. He said, "You're going to move full time into a motorhome." So,
And then I think one of the other things that I distinctly remember was for a long time our show for churches was just straight up entertainment. Like we just wanted to bring
mm,
really good quality entertainment to the churches because especially at that time, church entertainment was not known for its quality, and
Mm.
so we wanted to bring something that was high quality. And we didn't really have a message with the show. It was just fun. And there was one day we were sitting in our own church service, and our pastor was delivering this message, and we'd been working on this routine that we wanted to do anyway, trying to figure out what our angle was going to be with it. And our pastor spoke this message, and we both turned to each other and said,
that's
"That's
it.
that's it. That's what we're supposed to be sharing with people." Like
Mm.
God just kind of laid it out to us and said, "Do this." So
So in essence, it's
Wow.
God speaking to us,
yeah.
isn't it?
Absolutely. I love that. And
Mm.
I think there, like you said, there's lots of different ways that God speaks to us. But when we really figure out what it is that we love to do and when that fuses with who God's called us to be, it's amazing things happen. So I think this is so cool. Now, you just mentioned that you are living on a bus. I need to hear about more about this because you guys are like you live there full time. You don't have a house to go back to. This is your house, right?
Yeah, this is what we're in right now.
Yeah. We we live in a 45-foot tour bus. We have a 16-foot trailer attached to it with all of our magic equipment. And yeah, like she said, it truly is a God thing. He came to us, he spoke to each of us, and we came to each other one day and we said, God's been telling me something. And
Yeah,
she's
me too.
and it was the same thing. And so we spent about a year and a half trying to figure out what that looked like. And that was another one of those instances where it's like we learned so much about it because we know God had called us to it. And so often we think when we're called to something or when something's supposed to happen, we think it's supposed to be immediate. Like
Mm,
even starting this ministry, we moved out to Dallas in 2007 to start this ministry, thinking, okay, God's calling us to it. It's just going to be straight and narrow the path, and that was not the case.
Mm,
Same thing with this bus. That there was a lot of twists and turns, and but all those things set us up to help us find the place and help us find the right way, the right bus, the right time, the right price,
right.
which we kept saying over and over to ourselves to be able to move into it. And so now it's this
mhm.
amazing story that if we had more time, I'd share with you the entire story. But yeah, it's remarkable to watch God provide the way He does.
I
Yeah,
love that, and I love that you said it's not always immediate. Sometimes we have to just do
it's
the next
not.
thing and wait for God to come through or show us how to move forward in that, and so I love that you said that.
And it's not always easy.
Right.
Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. In fact, often it's even harder doing
Yeah.
what he's called us to do. But he's always with us every step of the way, which is we've seen time and time again. It's been beautiful.
What are some things about the bus that you love that you weren't anticipating you would love?
Oh,
Ooh, that's a great question.
well, one thing is waking up and having probably a different view out your window almost every day. Like right now, we're at this camp in Texas, and there's this lake out there. It's this quiet scenery. It's very peaceful at nighttime because there's nothing around. You can see all the stars at nighttime. But other days, we might be parking on a Walmart parking lot. So you open the window, and there's cars driving by, and it's Walmart, right? So,
Yeah.
The bus causes a stir everywhere it goes. I mean, it's a big beast and it causes a stir, um, which is sometimes really great because people will see us and then we get to kind of talk to them. They're like, "So, oh,
Mhm.
your bus is amazing. What's going on? What do you guys do?" And we get to tell the story about what we're doing, what God's doing through us, and how He brought this whole thing about. And so I think that's one of the things that's really kind of surprised me. I didn't expect that we were going to have those kind of conversations as often as we do
mhm.
with people.
Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah, just because your bus is amazing. They're like, "What is this?" And you get to
Yes.
share. It's not always on the stage, right, that we get to
Yeah.
do ministry. I think a lot of people think that all ministry stuff happens on stages, but really it's
Mm-mm.
those one-on-one things that make a huge impact. So,
Yeah.
okay, so tell me what you don't or you didn't expect about the bus that you don't love or you're still getting used to. We'll say it that way.
Oh, that's great, Kristen. We've got so many stories we could share. Um,
Well, real quick, I do have to say that the phrase that we use anytime somebody asks us about bus life is great when everything works, but something breaks
Uh-huh.
every day.
Oh, no.
like Kristen, we haven't had heat on our bus for about 3 months now, and it's
Oh,
been the winter
no.
time.
Yeah, this is
Thankfully,
colder.
thankfully, we've had space heaters and all to keep us warm. We discovered some leaks in our roof recently, so that's been a little interesting. It's
You
always something fun going on.
Yeah, just even pulling into this camp, that's a whole story.
We've had a lot of rain and we had to drive onto some grass and we sank.
We're
Oh, no.
46,000 pounds, and yeah,
Wow.
we sank, and so we thankfully, the people here are amazing, and they were able to come pull us out, and they got some tractors and backhoes and pulled us out, but
It was crazy.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about your show. So you guys are illusionists. What are some of the things that you do to make your show really exciting and joyful and all of those things?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things we try to do is so our background, Kylie kind of alluded to this earlier, but is in theater. We worked 7 years with another show that was the highest rated touring illusion show in the country for many years, and we got to
Going
be
to,
their team.
going to performing arts centers, theaters, civic centers all around the world.
Yeah.
Some
Oh,
beautiful
wow.
venues. Yeah.
So when God kind of told us He wanted us to take what we had learned, it was a lot of that. And so we try to really infuse like theater, and we try to make sure the show has a lot of ups and downs, and there's different. It's not like one note. It's not all comedy. It's not all mentalism. It's not all danger. It's all but you've got all these different various textures.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing we do is we try to be really engaging with people. I mean, we try to be fun. We try to be nice people.
Use of audience
Use a lot of
people.
audience people. We use a lot of
Hmm.
video now. We're also incorporating more lights, and we try to make. We always say it's like a concert. We want it to be just a real full experience for people. So
For families.
That's
for
Yeah.
families,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think the best performances, whether it's theater or illusion or whatever, it's when the person that's performing can read the room and connect with the audience. I think that's when it's the best.
yeah, and that's tough sometimes. Like
Yeah.
and there's a lot of pressure to make sure you get those things right. I mean, thankfully we get moments. Just the other night, we had a moment where we bring this kid up on stage, and afterwards, everybody's like, "You chose the exact perfect person for that effect." And all I can say is that was God. Like I let
Yeah.
Him direct me where I'm going to go. But we get that a lot. Like we're like we get the right person, and we help interact with the audience in the right way. So
Do you ever make mistakes? Like, do you ever mess up and like a trick falls apart or something happens?
I always think it's funny when people ask that question.
they love that question. They love that
Not
question.
really. We've always got backups where we
Oh,
plan ahead, we plan for situations. So even if something doesn't go exactly how it's meant to, we have a plan for how to recover so the audience doesn't even know.
that's good.
The
The show
exact right
must
way to
go
put it.
on, right?
The show goes
Exactly,
on.
exactly.
That's
So
right. That's good.
Mhm.
And then you said too earlier that you really felt like God wanted you to put this message in there about being made in his image. That was like the message you wanted to convey through your show. How do you do that? How do you convey that message while you're doing illusions?
most of the show is still just a ton of fun. It's all those pieces, all those elements of getting the right rapport with the audience. All because we want to get them to a place where we've earned the right to speak something into their lives.
Mm.
And so our message really comes in at the end. And it's a really pretty um, effect that we do where we make it snow, and we talk about the uniqueness
Wow.
of every snowflake and how that relates to the uniqueness of each one of us. And so, but it still keeps it in our brand because it's very theatrical. It's very the scripting is beautiful, the lighting, the music, and everything kind of blends up to this moment, and it's one of those things where I'm so thankful that God gave us this. Mainly because, like I said, I came to know Christ at a magic show, and I had kind of thought that I had to share the gospel the same way I had learned the gospel,
Mm.
um, and and I tried doing it. Like I tried doing my mentor's exact same presentation, and it was fine, but it wasn't me, and it wasn't what God wanted to share through me. And so when
Hmm.
He gave us this message that really fits with us,
Mm.
it made a lot more sense.
Yeah. And it goes back to Genesis 1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and then they're all good. But then
Hmm.
made mankind in his image, male and female, he created them. And he said they were very good, very, very good. And we just have to, I think it's an important message that we have to understand how beautiful we are because the creator of the universe made
Hmm.
us, intentionally made us. And that should give us purpose just from there.
The other thing that I love about this message that we get to share is that it's a great gospel message. Like I think it's a perfect starting point for
Mhm.
people to learn about their their uniqueness. The other thing is let's be honest, so many people these days are dealing with anxiety and depression and
Right.
concerns about who I am, why am I here, what's going on. And so let's start with the base. Let's start with who you are, why you're here, and what you're created for. And
That
then
is
all
your
those
identity.
that is your identity. And all those other things, you learn to kind of siphon out because you go back to the basics of it.
It's like somebody might say something about you, like you're say some mean things about you, and you look, what does the Bible say that about you? No, so it's not true. Cancel that out. What
That's
does
right.
God
Throw it
say
out.
about me? Yeah, get rid of it.
That's good. And I think you're right. Like there's so many different people that struggle with their identity in many different ways. And I remember hearing about a child recently who was really struggling, and his inner thoughts, he was sharing with someone, was just like, I feel like God made a mistake. And so
Oh,
just to be able to say, like, God created you for a purpose, he created you uniquely, and God doesn't make mistakes. So
God
there's
does
no
not.
way you're a mistake. And so I hope someone listening today hears that from your message and from what we're talking about, that there's no mistakes, that God,
No,
everything that he does is for a purpose, just like the snowflakes that you guys create in your show. God makes each one unique and special. And I think that's so good for people to hear that. I know you're not going to tell me any secrets about your tricks, but let's say for someone who wants to learn a magic trick, where would they get started? How would they do that?
so I'm old school. I learned in the library.
Okay.
793.8 is the Dewey Decimal number for magic. So,
Nice.
yeah, I'm that old school. So I would encourage people to go to the library. But there's also, like, depending on the city you're in, there's a lot of magic clubs, or you can find things online. There's a lot of YouTube stuff out there, which is can be good, but you have to be careful because not all of it's great.
Hmm.
we do sell some
And
magic kits at
we
our
sell some
show.
magic kits. That's true. You could go to
Oh,
our
okay.
website
There you go. And get
Yeah.
started.
Yeah, exactly. Would you guys like to do a magic trick?
Oh, yes, I would love that.
You want to do one? Okay, cool. And the cool thing is, like, even if you're just listening, you can follow along with this.
Mhm.
Okay.
So, a lot of people talk about magic that you do with your hands, and so I think that's great stuff. But we're through the screen, or you're listening in the headphones, and so I can't really do anything with your hands, but I can get you to do something with your hands. All right.
Okay.
So
I'm
here's
ready.
what I want you to do: hold up your right hand and face it towards you, so the palm is facing you. Okay.
Okay.
Very good. All right. Now, what you're going to do in a moment, I'm going to have you move around the fingers on your hand. All right. I want you to start off by pointing to your pinky finger. Okay. So that's your little
Okay.
finger, this one on the left. Yep. And in a moment, you're going to make moves. Now, a move is when you move from one finger to the next, just like this. And it has to be to the nearest finger. So you can't, like, jump fingers. You have to go to the nearest finger.
Okay.
But when I tell you to make moves, you can move forwards, you can move backwards, you can change your mind, you can go any direction you want. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Gonna move
All
the
right,
microphone. Okay.
all right. So start off pointing at your pinky finger. Now, what I
Okay.
want you to do is I want you to make 5 moves. Okay, so I'm going to do that now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, starting
Did
from
that?
your pinky.
Got
No,
Okay.
it.
starting from your pinky. Okay,
Oh, got
make
it.
1,
One,
2,
one, two, three,
3, 4,
four,
5.
five.
There you go.
Okay. There
Okay,
we go.
cool. All right.
I didn't know there'd be math involved.
That's
Okay.
I know it's my own fault. Yeah, I should. Math is hard. Okay, now, now, here's what's really cool, though. That even though we've done this, I don't think that anybody who's listening or watching this is on their pinky. So fold down your pinky a little bit so you can't get to that one. And I also don't think anybody's on their thumb. So fold down your thumb. So you should be holding up 3 fingers at this point. Okay.
Okay.
Now you can't go back to the pinky or the thumb. All right. You can only use the fingers that you're on. So I want you to make one move. Go ahead and do that now. Make one move.
Mm-hmm.
Good. All right. Now I don't think that anybody is on the ring finger. So curl down your ring finger. Okay. So you should be holding up 2 fingers now. Make one
Mm-hmm.
more move. And I believe that everybody at this point should be on their index finger.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
Yeah,
everybody should be on the same finger as me.
exactly.
Even though
That's
they
right.
made
Even though
different
they made
moves.
different choices, different moves along the way.
Yep.
That's really cool. I love
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, this has been so fun. Thank you so much for being on the show today and sharing your story and How can our listeners find out about your magic kits and all the things that you guys are doing?
Sure, sure. They can go to nightillusions.com. So that's KNIGHTILLUSIONS.com. And you can learn all about our ministry. And then at the bottom of the page, there's a place where you can look at our shop. You can also learn about so we recently teamed up with this organization called True Play. And what they are is Christian-based video game alternative. So it's a great platform with a bunch of different games that are not only fun and high quality, and they're made by people who make like Pixar and Xbox 360 games and
Really high
quality games. But they're also teaching biblical lessons along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to learn a lot of Bible lessons. There's a lot of quotes and scriptures and things like that. If you go to our link on our website, there's also a code where you can get a free week, so you can try it out, and then 20% off a subscription if you decide to join. So
very cool. I know a lot of parents are looking that up right now because that sounds like a great alternative for all the
so
video
much fun.
games. Yeah,
I actually enjoy the games.
Cool.
Yeah. It is mostly for ages like 4 to 12. That's their target audience.
Okay.
But I think any age enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, before I let you go, I always ask my guests to tell me a memory from when they were a kid. So I'll let you each go. Tell me a memory from your childhood. I'd love to hear it.
So I was born and raised in Australia all the way. You may hear a little bit of my southern accent coming out sometimes.
You do. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. But there we have some of the most beautiful beaches, and I love the beach. And I remember there was one beach called Squeaky Beach, and that's because the sand was so soft. You walk with your feet, and as you're stepping on the sand, it squeaks. It is so soft
cool.
and crazy. Yeah. So that's one memory I have. Just Squeaky Beach.
On Squeaky Beach. That's so cute. What a cute name.
Yes. I know.
I don't know if this is a good story or not, but it's kind of connected to your beach story. So when I was, I must have been about 9 or 10. My parents took me on a vacation to Hawaii. Not a bad place to go. And my mom had bought me this very Hawaiian outfit, like, floral shirt, matching pants, and a hat, the whole bit. And we were going to go to a luau that night. My dad was going to meet us there. And before we went to the luau, my mom and I went walking down by the ocean. And my mom said, "No, make sure you don't get your outfit wet because it's brand new and and
famous last words."
Yeah, exactly. Somehow I just kept making my way further and further out into the ocean and got just totally drenched, and my mom was so mad at me. But there you go.
That's awesome.
No
She
kid's
knew.
ever
She knew
done
it was
that
going to
before.
happen. That's
I know
right.
she had to know.
Well, thank you guys so much for sharing. Tell us again your website so our listeners can check you guys out and follow you.
Night Illusions, KNIGHTILLUSIONS.com.
And you can find us on socials at the same at Night Illusions.
All right. Well, we'll definitely make sure to put those links in our show notes so our listeners can check you guys out. Thank you guys for being here. This was so fun. I loved it.
Thank you. You're fantastic.
We love you.